Hello friends, Mandar here. I am back with another video. Today we are going to talk about the House bill that is for the reconciliation bill, and we are going to specifically look at the immigration text in it. Now this text came on Friday. There are some very interesting things that we did not expect to see in this bill. The language is very broad and a lot of people are interpreting it the way they want. So I have read through this bill multiple times and I'll give you my perspective on what I think this bill is doing. Now remember, this is not into a law yet and the language is subject to change, and I'll also talk about the process which this bill will go through. And towards the end I will also cover some important questions regarding 485. So if you're interested in this topic, watch this video until the end and let's get started. If you are here for the first time, welcome. My name is Mandar and I make immigration related videos for US and Canada. I'm not an immigration lawyer, so anything that I say on this video or on my channel is for information purpose only. And for your specific immigration needs, before you take any actions, you should hire a competent immigration lawyer. Now as usual, somebody on my channel reminded me that the text was available on Friday. Now the Friday was busy day and Saturday I had some personal event, so I could not read it until late yesterday night. So since yesterday evening I read the text a couple of times and I jotted down some important points for you, the way I interpret it. So don't hold me to it because a lot of people are interpreting it in their own fashion. So here's what I got out from this House reconciliation bill. Now this bill is not into a law yet. It has to go through the Senate parliamentarian. There are going to be revisions on this bill and it has to be voted in Senate again, and if there are significant changes it might come back to House as well before it has any chance to get into a law. Now this is a reconciliation bill. What it means is this approves the funding budgets for the next fiscal year. There are a lot of restrictions what can go into the budgetary reconciliation bill, and immigration and then the language that they need to put in has to contribute towards the budgetary requirements. So this will be under a lot of scrutiny, so the final version might be totally different. But here's what it is as of now. Now here's the actual text of the immigration provisions in this bill. So it goes into a couple of sections. One is lawful permanent residence for certain immigrants. Now they have changed the language from pathway to citizenship to giving them the lawful permanent residence, and we are going to look into what are the sections. And then there are provisions for adjustment of status. So it's a long bill. Anybody can read through this, but here's my interpretation of this bill. And just to get started off, I wanted to point out one interesting fact. If you have an underlying petition for immigrant visa which has been pending for more than 2 years or more, this bill will allow you to apply for 485, which is adjustment of status, and really you will get a green card. This is just wow. I don't know if the priority date will matter in the end, because if you have already waited on your approved immigrant petition for more than 2 years, this says that you can just apply for 485 and get your green card. So it's very interesting. I don't know if that's going to be the case, but that's what I read through it. Now another thing is, this is a broad brush immigration text and it is open for interpretation. I'm pretty sure a lot of lawyers are scratching their heads to understand what it means, because there is a lot of room for ambiguity, and anybody who claims to know this bill or understand this bill 100% are lying to themselves. So I will read with a word of caution, but be open for interpretation, because there are going to be changes in the next revised versions. So let's look at the first section of this bill: lawful permanent residence for certain migrants. Now let's look at who are these specific migrants. You have to be 18 years or younger when you entered the United States. You had to have come into the US as a child, 18 years or younger. You should have done either of these: served in the uniformed services, which is you should have worked in the military or army or navy, 2 years of program from a degree from the United States college or universities, if you have done that, post-secondary credentials from a technical institute in the United States, if you have done that, and consistent record of income earned in the 3 years prior to application of your adjustment of status. Internship or apprentice is also included, and continuous presence in the United States from not less than 3 years. So if you fulfill all these needs, you can just file for 485 if your underlying immigrant petition has been pending for more than 2 years. You can pay the $1,500 in addition to any additional fees. $1,500, remember, it is in addition to the base fees, so the total cost would be higher than $1,500. So you pay that fee, you go through the background check, you give your medical, and then you will be getting your green card. This is the biggest thing that is going to be available through this bill if this bill passes. Now there are exceptions. There are grounds of inadmissibility. So if you have created some felony, if you have done some crime that makes you ineligible, those people are not going to be included, or those people will not be eligible for getting this green card. Now effective date is 180 days from the date of this bill being approved into a law. So basically they are saying that this will be into effect by 1st May 2022, which is 6 months from the date this bill gets enacted into a law. Now this is really interesting, because if this becomes into the law, a lot of the parents, especially from the backlog countries such as India, whose kids have come here as children and now they are aging out because of the long wait for the green card, this is going to be a big relief for everybody. So if your children have arrived here before the age of 18, and if they have continuously stayed for at least 3 years, and if they have studied here and did some college degree and things like that, they automatically qualify for an adjustment of status and they will get their green card. So this eliminates your stress about children aging out. So basically children aging out, the way I understand it is the children aging out situation just goes away with this. So this is a great news. If this turns into a law, this will be a big relief for a lot of people. Now let's look at the next section of this bill. It is section 60,002 recapture of unused immigrant visa numbers. Now here they have split it into several different categories. They talk about the family based, then they talk about employment based, and they also talk about diversity visa. So I'll just go through each section because they have slightly different language in it. So for FB category, they have specifically made it clear right in the first sentence. For FB category, the numbers cannot be less than 226,000 visa numbers for every year. So they have made it a floor of 226,000 for family based category. They don't have that same language for employment based category. So anyways, I don't know what difference this is going to make, because you already have that as a rule that you would have 226,000 visas available every year, so that number never goes down. So I don't know what this line is about, but that was interesting. So second thing it says is beginning of FY22, the visa numbers, unused visa numbers from the past will be recaptured. Now they calculate, add 226,000 to any visa numbers that were unused since 1992 through 2021, which is incredible. So they are going as back as 1992 to see all the visa numbers that were unused for the family based category for a certain year. They're going to add them up until 2021 and make them available in 2022, in addition to 226,000 visa numbers that are already available. So this is going to be incredible, because there are going to be hundreds of thousands of visa numbers potentially that may have been wasted since 1992. That will be in addition to 226,000 visa numbers for family based category starting FY22. Now they also have the similar language for EB category. So base 140,000 plus any unused visa number since 1992, which is incredible, because now I haven't gone back and looked at the actual numbers, but I'm pretty sure it's going to be in hundreds of thousands of visa numbers available. So what they are saying is leave family based visa numbers, don't make them spill over to employment based. If there are any unused numbers, so just keep them available in the following years. That's what they are proposing. Same for employment based category, base 140,000 visa numbers plus any unused visa numbers since 1992. Now there was something like this that was done in 2005 and 2007, I think, where they recaptured a couple of years back. So I don't know how that matters into this, because those visa numbers prior to 2005 may already have been used at that time when they made that law at the time. So I don't know if those will be still available, or if there was a cap to those unused numbers. So if there was a cap, but regardless, there will be hundreds of thousands of extra green cards available for EB category starting FY22. And with the way things are written in this bill, if this passes, I don't see what would be in the visa bulletin anymore, because it won't matter. Everybody who have waited for 2 years would just be able to apply for 485 and get their green card, which is incredible. So Charlie Oppenheim's visa bulletin may not held any relevance in that case. But let's see, let's not jump to the conclusions, because this is just a speculation at this point of time based on what I am understanding. For a diversity visa also, they have said they will recapture all the remaining visa available since 2017. Remember, since Donald Trump came, he put a lot of restrictions due to COVID and Muslim ban and all those things. This bill is saying that they are going to those people who have missed the boat in 2017, 18, 19, 20, 21, all of those people will be recalled to get their green card. All in all, you can if this bill passes, there is going to be like millions of people getting their green card in the next couple of years, which is going to be the huge number of green cards they have ever given out if this passes. Now, this is all immigration. Now remember, this is a reconciliation bill, so they have to tie this somehow to the budget. So they have to show that any changes that they are proposing in this bill impact the budget. So for that reason, they have increased some of the fees. They have mentioned some of the fees. So basically, they are saying that from the adjustment of status, spouses and children will be exempt from the numerical limit, which is incredible, because in the EB category right now, the spouses and children take up a visa number. So if there is a family of four, they take 4 numbers from the available quota. So that's what it is today, but they are saying they will be exempt. The family, the spouses and children will be exempt going forward from the numerical limit. So they will not take up that visa number. Another thing is, there is a supplemental fee of $2,500 for family-based category. There is a supplemental fee of $5,000 for employment-based category. So EB1, EB2 and EB3, if you have waited for 2 years or more on your I-140, you just pay additional $5,000 and apply for your 485. For the EB5 category, the supplemental fee is almost $50,000. In addition to the supplemental fee, there is also another fee which is $100 for FB category, $800 for EB category, and $15,000 for EB5 category. So these, so they somehow came up with this additional fees that would tie these provisions to a budgetary aspect of this bill, because somehow they want to show that by making these changes they are going to generate some revenue, and that budget could be used for paying off the government services. So that's the trick that they are using in this bill. In addition, there is $2.8 billion available for USCIS to increase the capacity and so that they can efficiently adjudicate the cases. So they are giving some budget to USCIS, 2.8 billion, which is significant, so that they can get through this backlog, because if this bill passes, there will be like flood of applications coming into the adjustment of status, and they are going to need that manpower, so they're addressing that as well. And another 2.5 billion for community violence prevention, for example, violence against women and all. So that is a good provision in my opinion. So in summary, this is what I think. All unused visas available since 1992 through 2021 will be recaptured. If this happens, everybody's priority date might become current, so it will not matter. This visa bulletin might not matter for at least couple of years. That's the way I read it. And the next biggest provision, as we already looked at, in summary is, if you have waited on your I-140 for 2 or more years, or even an I-130 for 2 or more years, you are directly eligible to apply for 485. So regardless of your priority date, whether it's current or not, you are just able to apply for 485. And I think they are also talking about giving out the green card right away, not just having you wait until your priority date becomes current. That's the way I read it, but I might be wrong. Include dreamers and not just undocumented, so they haven't used any specific language for undocumented, but they have just set some criterias. You have to be a child as when you come in, and you have to have studied and all those things, and you can apply for 485. That means all the dreamers, documented dreamers, the kids of all the immigrants who are at the risk of aging out, they are all covered in this bill. Now, since this is a reconciliation bill, they have to pass it through the Senate. Parliamentarians need to pass this. There is a process for it, and there is a bride's rule in the Senate that kind of oversees the provisions that are slid into this reconciliation bill. It is to curb the provisions in this reconciliation bill to avoid the majority party, which is the Democratic Party, to slide in any provisions that have no budgetary effects. So this bride rule is going to be applied on top of this immigration text bill, and then Senate parliamentarians also have to approve it. But the good thing is, this does not require 60 votes. It will just pass with a simple majority, which is 50 votes. So in my opinion, it has a very high likelihood of passing, but the caveat here is, we don't know what the changes are going to be going forward. So this is just the first draft. This will go through a lot of revisions, so the final version that gets approved might be totally different than what we see. But if any of these provisions get passed, this will be a very big immigration change, and a lot of people will be relieved, who have waited for their green cards for decades, and also these documented dreamers, the children aging out thing will go away. So that was kind of my thought on that I wanted to give you after reading through this text of this immigration bill. Now, there are some other questions that I will cover in my next video, because this video is getting too long, but I think you got the summary of what this bill proposes if it passes. So if you like the content of this video, please hit the like button and consider subscribing to my channel, and I will see you in the next one.